I first met Linda Goyette a few years ago, a project she was working on, and I was working at Fort Edmonton Park at the time, and I had the pleasure of meeting her then. And then me, in a very minor way, was able to observe the great work that she did around the city of Edmonton's centennial in 2004. Linda Goyette is a writer and journalist with a strong interest in oral history and contemporary storytelling. Following her work at the Edmonton Journal as a reporter, columnist, and editorial writer, she worked on Edmonton in Our Own Words and 6 other books. We are very pleased to have Linda as our keynote presenter at this inaugural symposium. Please welcome Linda Goyette with her presentation, Spying on E-Town.
Thank you very much, Tim, and I have to say tanse and hello again to Jane, who I don't think where are you, Jane? I don't think I've seen you since we were both a lot younger. Yeah, it's nice to see you again. Many people helped me put together the presentation I'm going to make tonight. And it's the very first slide presentation I've ever done, and you know, it could be bungled. And I didn't ask permission of many others who are sitting right in this room for their pictures to be up on my presentation. I just did it. I want you to know that when you don't see your own picture or your own story on this screen tonight, that doesn't mean that I haven't recorded it. And I'm going to be writing an essay for the New Heritage Council about our session this weekend. And I promise you that if you email me, I'll make sure that it's in the final essay with the photographs. I am very happy and proud that all of us are in this room together. I think it's kind of a miracle. So let's go with this slide presentation, see if it works. A magpie sits on a backyard fence near 85th Street. Flying over Edmonton, over treetops and office tower ledges, she looks down at the city's hidden treasures. How does a city remember? There is no single Edmonton. Each one of us remembers the city differently. On the day that I saw that arrival sign for the first time, in May 1979, I looked out a taxi window at a miserable spring blizzard. I whispered to myself, I will get out of this place in 3 months tops. I had no memories of Edmonton. I had no knowledge. I had no plan to stay. I remember a perfect summer night that changed my mind. I remember days of frustration, anger, and shame when I questioned my choice. Every city invents high-blown slogans to try to capture its identity, as if we might forget where we were. In response, ordinary citizens like us invent insurrectionary nicknames: E-Town, Edmonton Chuck, Edmonchuck, Redmonton, Deadmonton. The funniest one I ever heard was Donna Marie Artuso, who called it the city of champignons. I wonder where she lives now. I miss her. The magpie flies over street corner statues. We build them to help us remember a person, a moment, a feeling. Taken together, how do these stone markers express who we are? We remember the past through the architecture we have created, our built heritage, or what's left of it. Consistency is not our strong point in Edmonton. We treasure the Princess Theatre. We blew up the Tegler. Oh, sorry, you'll see my favorites here. I love that Podurski's sign. I wish I'd known that library. I sometimes also think that that magpie flies over sparkling new buildings, looking down, wondering, Will our descendants tear those structures down? One day, will people in Edmonton consider these buildings useless, dowdy, old-fashioned, decrepit, embarrassing? How do we remember? We remember where we came from. We bring our memories with us, and we share them through art. Sometimes we explore the city to remember its past. A canoe ride down the North Saskatchewan can bring us closer to the city's beginnings. We can follow a trail beside the river in the footsteps of thousands of people who walked here before us for thousands of years. We can cross footbridges to a city's unknown future. Every one of our arguments and conflicts has deep roots in our city's history, examined and unexamined. We can't agree for the life of us what to do with historic airport lands in the heart of the city. Sometimes we argue about dreams postponed for too long. Can a provincial museum express a city's identity? If it doesn't, or if it won't, why don't we have a civic museum for our own interpretations? We have asked for one for 60 years. Sometimes Edmonton's strongest arguments fall on deaf ears. Sometimes our arguments expose deep and painful fault lines between us. Long ago, Edmonton neglected a sacred site, marked on early maps and in family memory. The city built a bridge, a power plant, and roadways through the graves of human beings, the beloved ancestors of the city's first families. Our struggle for reconciliation over the Fort Edmonton Cemetery and traditional burial ground in Rossdale was difficult, but it was absolutely necessary. Edmonton's heritage isn't locked in the past. It isn't over. It is lived. We live it. The magpie flies over shopping malls and suburbs, freeways and factories, all built on Treaty 6 territory. The map of Edmonton no longer outlines the boundaries of the Papas Chase Reserve, taken away so long ago, but Cree families, like the Donalds here in this room tonight, remember their own maps and memories and ask the rest of us to remember too. As historian Roger Epp writes, we are all treaty people. Our traditions evolve with us. Each of us explores our family roots in our own way. Fago Obo, the little boy who's leaning against the piano in that picture, has just written a fine book of his own about his first journey from Edmonton back to Nigeria, the ancestral homeland he'd never seen before last year. He brought it to my house and asked me to publish it. It deserves publication if anybody will. That's Fago with his fingers up to his chin. Our neighborhoods are evolving culturally, moment by moment. These pictures come from a community league picnic in Highlands last summer. What would that picnic have looked like in 1922? In 1972? It wouldn't look like this one. The magpie flies over a Canadian winter city that can't make up its mind about the season. Some mornings, the people of Edmonton celebrate the magic of a fresh snowfall. And just as often, we wake up to curse and grumble and endure. Winter rarely defeats us, it always defines us. But how will climate change influence the way we see ourselves in the future? We describe the city to strangers with pride, but among ourselves, we share a wacky sense of humor about the place. Like the blogger who created these images as an art statement, a provocation, a laugh to share. Edmonton is also an annual local horror film festival, and every city needs one.